caves and margaritas. Joe and Gavin talking about their favorite features.
Well, Happy New Year.
First Man Cave and Margaritas of 2025.
January 2025. I hope everyone's had a good Christmas and New Year. And we're back.
Yay! Yeah, we had a little break, didn't we?
We had a little break. Ate too much, drank too much, had fun. Watched loads of films. Pay for it now, yeah. But yeah, we're back. And we're back in my cinema room. So my choice. And
I can't remember what it was called.
well, it was I didn't realise it was 2 hours 25 minutes long.
Wow!
Actually, I had no idea how long it was. But it's one of I don't know what you think. Actually, you've never seen it. Man on Fire, Denzil Washington. Denzil Washington. The reason I chose it was Denzil is one of my favourite actors. I really love Denzil.
Oh, nice.
Ridley Scott is one of my favourite directors, as you probably all know if you've watched the channel. And Tony Scott, his brother, directed Man on Fire. And the very first film we did was True Romance, which was, of course, directed by Tony Scott.
The first film we did, wasn't it?
Yeah,
wow, yeah. So cyclic.
Yeah. So my reasons for choosing that we'll talk more about, I'm sure, as we get more into it. But
so it's 2005.
Yeah, it's got it. Yeah, it's about 20 years, nearly, not quite, but nearly 20 years old. I think 2006, 5. It's something like that. Anyway, and that's the first time I've watched it on Blu-ray too.
No, first time I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, I know you've not heard of it at all.
No,
I was trying to give you clues at the start. Denzil Washington, revenge thriller, and so Equalizer came up, didn't it? Of course. You know,
Trading Day was my first.
Oh yeah, Training Day.
Yeah.
Training Day. Wow! Another cracking film with him in. Anyway, listen, I suppose I ought to let you open up because you're the one that's never seen it before.
Right.
So I don't want to say an awful lot until you've had a chance to put your own opinion.
Oh, okay.
Forward a little bit.
Yeah.
Likes, dislikes, maybe start with that. I don't know.
I think I might have a complicated relationship with this film. I didn't particularly like it, to be honest, but there were parts of it that won me over, but then I got bored. Overall, I found it quite boring. And I can go into more technical aspects of why, but there were some bits I really, really liked, but basically first quarter I didn't like at all. Then the next third I thought were pretty good, and then the last like quarter or the last third or whatever it works out as, it's just lost me.
Really?
Yeah.
Fair enough, man. This is what film's all about. This is good, actually. This is one of the first times I've chose one that I know I really like that hasn't grabbed you. So it'd be interesting for different viewpoints. So what particularly was it about start with the first third then?
Well, if you tell the audience what it's about first.
Yeah, okay. So if you don't know anything about Man on Fire, it's from a book. So it's a film. So the script was written from a book. It's a revenge thriller, and it really takes its time before the revenge element comes in, because you're good halfway into the film before anything happens, and it's a story about a young girl in Mexico who is kidnapped, and Denzil Washington is a down and out badass guy who's living with loads of demons. He's on the edge. He's pretty much at that point in his life where he can't see why it's worth carrying on. And she gives him a reason to live, and then she's kidnapped and believed to be dead, and he exacts his version of revenge. Also starring his buddy in it is the wonderful Christopher Walken.
Who's the best thing in the movie?
Oh, he's just awesome in anything, isn't he?
Yeah, true.
He's got some really cracking little lines, actually.
Would you call this film part of the revenge genre?
Yeah, I would say.
Because there's a lot of them in there, like Taken and things.
Yeah, although I think, I mean, I'm probably going to say things that you might disagree with, which again is good for this discussion. The reason I like that over and above films like, say, Taken, which I do like an action film, but I like the way that the film invests a lot of time in the relationship between Denzil, the girl, the whole way she gets him to change the way he feels about life, the guilt he's feeling about. He's like a secret government assassin. You find out later in the film, but you don't get to find that out at the start. And he's obviously killed lots of people in his time, and he's suffering from guilt and just can't see where to go forward. And she gives him that. I just liked all of that. I liked all that build up, and the fact that it's set in Mexico. I can't think of that many of those type of films set in that environment. Yes, so I just really like the character. I like all the characters in it. I think I'm invested in them, so it makes me feel emotional at the end. So,
does it?
Well, it does. Yeah, it does because of the investment I've made with the relationship, particularly between him and her.
Yeah.
So there you go. There you go. There's kind of like a synopsis. He seeks revenge, and
I mean, it's the kind of script that, like, obviously, if it was a book, that it's really well fleshed out. But in actual fact, you could write the elevator pitch on the back of a napkin, couldn't you?
Well, yeah, the book. I mean, the book is a paperback, so it's not like a massive. The book is a paperback, and interestingly enough, the book, the protagonists in the book are, because it's set in Italy, and the protagonists in the book are mafia. So it's not set in Mexico, and the protagonists are mafiosi. And in the book, the girl is actually, here's the big spoiler. So in the book, the girl is actually killed, genuinely killed, and he sets out on revengement for her death. Whereas in the film, set in Mexico, and it's not until the very end of the film, with about 10 minutes to go, do you find out that the kidnapper has actually kept her alive. And there's this wonderful, like, emotional, for me anyway, trade-off at the end on that bridge.
So why did he think she was dead? Why did Denzil's character think that the little girl was dead?
Well, first of all, that he gets told that by Christopher Walken, because the drop goes wrong, and the ransom is not taken. The drop goes wrong by the corrupt police. So basically, the father of the girl sets up this fake.
Let me talk about this.
Yeah, go on.
So obviously you've got a very traditional kind of kidnap the kid of a rich family. Put out a phone call saying we want £10 million. The pickup call goes wrong. Then he has to track him down for revenge, which is like the bit I've meant you could write on the back of a napkin.
Yeah.
One interesting thing was there was no twists in it. They basically set up all the twists in the first scene, where there's a meeting between the protagonists, and they're like, right, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, the lawyer, played by Mickey Rourke, by the way.
Yeah. They were like, right, it's your daughter. With your agreement, we're going to kidnap her. Then you pretend you're giving us the money. We'll take a little bit of that money, and you can claim the rest on insurance and get your kid back.
There you go.
And they explained it all, so there was no like twist or anything like that. It was, which I thought was quite an interesting take.
It's a different way of doing it. Do you think you would have preferred not to have known the father and lawyer's involvement until later?
No, I thought it was okay. You knew what was coming. So at first, one of the surprises was, because you knew what was coming, I assumed that it would happen quite quickly. But then it took like a good 45 minutes of just Denzil building up this relationship with the girl, because Denzil was assigned to look after it.
Yeah, he's a drunk. At this point, he's a drunk. He's
basically a bodyguard. He's employed to be a bodyguard.
Yeah, he's taken on as her bodyguard because they know that at the beginning when they're chatting, Mickey Rourke is saying, just get someone that's like, no, cheap. Get someone that's cheap, we don't want someone that's like I'm really, really good at his job because we need this kidnapping to go ahead. And Christopher Walken unknowingly sets him up for the job to try and help his friend, not knowing that that's what they're doing. And he's like, he turns up and he admits that he's got this drink problem, and he's obviously, in the eyes of the father, he's the kind of person that they want. But what the father doesn't realize is, underneath all of that, this broken person, that once he's mended a bit by his daughter, his real talent comes out.
I mean, they didn't really spend any. This is one of the things I didn't really like. It's like, they spent a lot of time building the relationship, but they didn't specifically show very much how Denzil was changing. I mean, he had a drink problem, right? They just didn't show him drinking again. They didn't actually kind of hone in on the fact that he made a decision to stop drinking, or he got all his bottles and threw them down the toilet, or anything like that. He was just suddenly a different person.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the kidnap of the girl, but then ultimately him finding out when he's in the hospital bed and Walken tells him the girl's dead. I saw that as a catalytic. I saw that as the moment where he thinks, right, I've now got a purpose. Because she gives him this, like, there's this beautiful moment when they're having a drinks around the table. Christopher Walken's house, Denzil's there, the girl's there, and Christopher Walken's wife's there. And there's this lovely moment for me where the girl gives Creasy, who's Denzil's name in it, a bear as a gift, and inside the bear is a locket, and it's
St. Jude's.
St. Jude's, and the girl says to him, and she's only about 11 in this film, about as you say, says that's the saint of lost causes, which means she's quite astute, really, and that to me was quite a nice little turning point. And it was just little moments like that when she picked the flower up before she went in for the piano lesson, and gave it to him. It made him. He was already at that point starting to reevaluate his life.
Yeah.
She sits in the back of the car after he's like all stern with her, saying, "I don't want this like relationship. I'm supposed to be a bodyguard." And then it slowly turns, and eventually you see her sitting in the front with him again, and they're chatting. And then you have that whole that whole montage where he helps her to get faster at swimming, don't fear the gun and stuff, before she then goes to have the piano lesson. It's all that bonding.
Yeah, did you? I'm just going to interject here.
Go for it.
Did you realise that, like, when he realised that she was going to get kidnapped, and he got his shotgun and shot it in the air and said, "Run"? Did you realise that he was training her to run at the sound of his shotgun going off?
No,
with the swimming thing, because he had the blocks, and he was like, "When you hear the gun, dive into the pool immediately. Don't be scared. Don't hesitate."
So he had a motive. He had a different motive, really. So he had a second motive.
Then he got his gun and he
shoots
shot
it in the air,
and she ran immediately.
Oh my God! Crazy. I've seen that film about 4 times. I've never realised that. Well done. Oh my God, that opens it up even more for me then, really.
That was clever. That
was really clever. I never twigged on that.
Yeah.
Duh. Of course, that all makes sense.
Yeah, really good, that bit.
Really good. Yeah.
I absolutely loved that bit. And part of the reason I loved that whole, looking at the relationship of them becoming friends and have feelings for each other.
This is the bit. This is kind of like the middle third, isn't it? When all this is that what you're saying? This bit.
Yeah, well, it's the first half of the film, I guess, isn't it?
Okay.
Before the kidnapping, because I expect, because they laid everything on the ground to begin with, like how the kidnapping was going to happen, who the baddies were. Do you know what I mean? What their place was. I thought, well, there's nothing to solve now. They're just going to get on with the kidnapping. But they didn't. Then it took another 30, 40 minutes of them just bonding, didn't it? Which I really, really liked. And
I'm glad you said that's the bit that you like, actually, because that's the bit that I'm invested in, to be fair.
The acting and what is it? The chemistry between the little girl and Denzil is absolutely brilliant. Fantastic. So believable.
I mean, the girl's played by a very young Dakota Fanning, who obviously is now a lot older, and you'll see her. I mean, she went on to do things like Twilight, but things like that, and she does stuff now as an older actress. She was in a horror film I watched just before Christmas called The Watchers as well, actually, and obviously very good, but I think at that age to produce that sort of performance was something else.
One of the best I've ever seen, I think, actually.
So natural.
Yeah, very natural.
I mean, she's sitting next to one of the greatest, screen presence actors with Walken and Denzil, and she came across so natural and believable and genuine, and I loved it. Yeah, but that was important because if I wasn't invested in their relationship at all, then I would have no emotional ties at all to how it then ends, which was very powerful.
Yeah, the end. I mean, the ending. Like, it depends what you mean by how it ends. But like, if you mean like the last 3 or 4 minutes,
yeah, the bridge
that was obviously very good. But for me, the bit between the bridge, the last 3 and 4 minutes, and when she gets kidnapped, which is quite a long time, I found all that very dull, very boring.
Did you? Interesting. Yeah. So really, you were more invested in the drama than the action then.
Yeah, but I must admit, I'm not really into that like revenge kind of kidnap type vibe. So, but I've got other reasons why I didn't get on with the film that much. But
pray tell.
Well, you tell me first. What made you think that this was the film for the show?
For the show,
yeah,
because well, first of all, it gives us the chance to talk about how you can, because we're always talking about how a lot of films don't invest enough time in character build-ups. They just go straight into that sort of thing. So to me, it's not a generic action film. So for me, Man on Fire is not like a Taken, because I wouldn't choose a Taken or something like that personally for the show. I'd enjoy it, but it's not one it's not one you can really talk an awful lot about. I mean, Liam Neeson karate chopping everyone for about 2 hours and that's it. Right. But for me, this one is a lot more than that, because it's a lot more invested in the character build up. And
the first half,
the way it's shot as well is different to a lot of films, because he does a lot of work on like Steadicam and handheld as well, doesn't he, Tony Scott? So it's a slightly different way of doing it. A lot of jump cuts when he's done his edit, and some films overdo that, and I don't like that either. But I thought in this instance, it kind of worked for me, because he only does it when there's action involved and stuff like that. I mean, the interesting thing for me is I love a good action film, fair enough, but when I think of Man on Fire, I don't think of the action. Sometimes the only bit of action I could actually remember is when he shoves the explosive up the corrupt police chief's backside, which is a ticky clock. I wish I had more time.
I wouldn't call it an action. So, but it's like, I don't know how to word it, but it's not the narrative aspect of it is kind of gone. I guess there's a little bit of mystery, like you're watching him try and solve it.
Well, the drop goes wrong,
but you already know because they showed you at the beginning, so there's no suspense or mystery for the viewer.
I suppose the only bit of the only part of that I would sort of argue against is, I would say that it should have been a simple drop. Had it gone the way it's supposed to have gone, he would then have got his daughter back and everything would have been hunky-dory. But because of the corruptness of the anti-kidnapping head police guy,
true.
Because of what he did,
didn't know about that bit.
We didn't know about that bit. So the fact that he turns up, kills the kidnapper's nephew, steals the money out of the card, knowing that the kid's probably going to be killed, but also knowing, you find out later that he's not only done that once, he's done that on a few occasions, because he's dead corrupt, and he doesn't care that when he does that, whoever's being kidnapped then is going to get, wasted.
Did you not think it was obvious that she was still alive, though? Because what would be the point of the movie if she wasn't still alive? I didn't for 1 second consider the fact that she wasn't alive. Because what would the ending be? He just gets there and kills everyone, and it's like,
yeah. Well, funnily enough, in the book, that's what he does.
Yeah, weirdly. Yeah.
Weirdly, in the book,
that must be why they changed it for the film. Because
I guess so. Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking, oh, this is a good example of a film where the bad guys win, because there's always that thing in there. Oh, I want to watch a film where the bad guys win.
when he's giving himself over.
Yeah, but then you realise he was going to die anyway,
Dying.
because he'd been shot. So
Dying
in
anyway.
actual fact. Yeah.
And it's like on the bridge. How did you feel about that bit on the bridge? I mean, not being quite as emotionally tied in as me with that. I always watch that and I always feel a little bit, the hairs on my back of my neck when they meet on the middle of the bridge, and he's telling her, your mum's over there. It's time for you to go home. She's saying, well, where are you going? He says, I'm going home too. Meaning he knows he's going to die. He knows he's going to die. He knows he's dying.
Yeah, it's a good delivery, a good line. I was wondering what he was going to say at that bit. To be honest, I was so bored by that bit that I just, I was going when you're like, when you're watching a film and you're like, right, when it's actually going to end.
If anybody ever thinks that this is scripted or we just pick stuff that we always like, finally, proof of the pudding.
This is probably the first time, actually, that I've...
And I don't think you guys were that enamoured with the Poseidon, my guilty pleasure that I chose that Christmas time.
True. But at least that wasn't boring, though.
You found it boring.
I found this really boring.
You found it boring because you find that action doesn't rock your boat.
No, it just went on forever. It's just like...
You just found it didn't rock your boat.
It's like...
You thought, if they'd have edited it tighter, would it have been better for you?
It needed to be way under 2 hours. We're talking about a 2 hour 20 movie that, like I say, you could write the script on the back of your hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but there was other things that irritated me as well.
This is great. This is great for our channel. Actually having a proper disagreement. This is brilliant. Twiz would win in a fight, by the way, probably, because I'm rubbish at fighting. So it'll only be heated discussion. Nah,
well, the editing. The editing did my head in.
And I kind of didn't think you'd like that.
Yeah, I remember when I first started filmmaking and editing myself, right? I remember like, oh, yeah, there's all these things you can do in software and things, like especially now you do digital editing rather than just cutting tape and sticking it together. You can do all these flashes and zooms and like all this stuff. And then I remember thinking, hold on, how is that going to age? Is it just because you can do it, does that mean you should do it? True. And I think this film has aged very badly in terms of like the constant kind of like flickering of lights in the edit, like not literally lights that are on the set, but they've flickered the edit, so it's like it's supposed to be like someone's not like sometimes in a film where like a bomb goes off and you get that they're obviously gone deaf for like a minute and you get that noise and they create like all this weird slow-mo and stuff. Like all the kind of action edits were like that, and with the camera zooming in and out, and then really extreme close-ups all the time, and I just thought it looked like a music video at times.
Which, funny enough, is what Tony Scott used to do.
Is it?
Music videos. Oh. So there you go. That explains why he chooses. I mean, he hasn't done. In his other films that he's done, he hasn't chosen to use that style of editing for action. I mean, Top Gun, he never did anything like that.
But he wouldn't even do it just for action in this. Like even if something really simple was happening, it's to have all these like flashing lights, and, like in and outs and stuff. It's just like chill.
Yeah, yeah. I must admit. That's not a technique that's used anymore. And back in the early 2000s, quite a few directors were doing that kind of thing. I can remember in the second Bourne film, the director, I can't remember his name now. He did United '93 as well. Can't remember his name. But for all the action in that, he went really close up handhelds and really cutty and choppy. And it was a bit like oof. And the reason that they used to say that it would do it like that is to try and make you feel like you were in there with them all, but it obviously doesn't grate on me like it grated on you. Would I have preferred it if it hadn't been quite so trouble? Well, yeah, probably, to be fair, but But it didn't grate on me because it wasn't the action. It's not the action that I remember the most from that film.
But it wasn't
anyway.
I'm not focusing in on the action. All that editing was happening with just.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's a fair. That's a fair point, mate. I agree. That's a fair point.
The other thing I wanted to have a go at was so it's set in Mexico, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think? Warm, beautiful, colourful Mexico.
It's just raining all the time,
and it just looks so drab. And like, not one part of it makes you think, "Oh, I'd love to go on holiday to Mexico." They just drained.
Oh my god, you hated it.
And colour out of it.
He hated this film so much. I could tell. It's just so bad. Oh well. I don't. I mean, I didn't mind that. I don't know when it rains in Mexico. I don't know do they have rainy seasons? They must do. Well, it was in December, wasn't it? He died in December, so it was like maybe it's just not quite so sunny near Christmas time.
Yeah, but it could have been set anywhere. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it could be. Yeah, it could have been.
They didn't give you any vibe of what it's like to actually be in Mexico at all. I mean, the culture or anything like that. So. But anyway, right.
Okay. Okay. Well,
that's it, though. Apart from that, I loved it.
Okay. So those are the bad bits. Let's talk about the 5 minutes that you did enjoy. What about the score?
Yeah, like the sound design was brilliant. Like I was even tempted to ask you, like, have you upgraded your surround sound because the sound was excellent. I thought.
Cool.
I'm not so sure about the score because again, it was very dated for that time.
Did you get Gladiator from that score? A little bit of.
I don't really remember Gladiator.
Well, obviously Ridley Scott directs Gladiator, and he chose someone to do the really beautiful score, especially at the end when he's died. Oh, another spoiler. Sorry, I didn't say who died. Anyway. And there's a lovely scene where whoever it is that's died in Gladiator is walking through the cornfield with his hand, and they play this really lovely, beautiful score. And the same person that produced that piece of music did some other music for this film.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you could hear it straight away. And I thought, I wonder if you'd get that or not, actually. So they obviously collaborate between them, or used to anyway, because sadly he's no longer with us, is he, Tony Scott? But yeah. So, yeah, sorry, score. So...
yeah, I wasn't massively enamoured by the score, but I was enamoured by the sound design, which I thought was really crisp and clear and
good audio,
really well mixed. Yeah,
good audio,
definitely.
It's funny, isn't it? Because something I'd completely forgotten is that at times during it, not I mean, obviously when they were speaking Mexican, you'd have the subtitles come up as they were talking, which is something that's new for me because normally they just come up, don't they? But these come up like talking, but that's no biggie. But also there were moments when some of the characters were speaking English and he still put some subtitles up. So is that because he watched it and then thought, I don't know if you can properly understand that, or was it gimmicky?
It was gimmick, yeah, just
gimmicky.
Just a thing, like a thing that you do that ages your movie. There was no point to it at all.
I did like the fact that they showed the timer on the screen though when the Semtex is up the corrupt. I keep going back to this. Corrupt policeman's anus. I don't mean to. It's not something that I'm particularly focused on, but it's just the one kill that I remember the most. If it was
on a VHS tape, that bit would be the grainy bit.
He got a boy.
That's
he had a
why you had to buy it on Blu-ray because that bit didn't work anymore.
Warn me, take that. Oh my gosh, he had a very hairy back, didn't he? A very sweaty, hairy back tied down to that car.
Yeah, that was...
So one of the kills. So better explain then. So in trying to extract information on this detective case that he's on to kill everyone that was involved, not knowing that the girl is still alive and so on and so on, right? He ultimately promises the mother whoever he finds out is involved in her kidnapping and what he believes to be her death, he's going to kill. That's it. But in doing so, before he kills them, he wants to try and extract information out of them. So this corrupt police chief guy, he knocks him out, and you see him wearing these rubber gloves. And when the policeman guy comes to, he's tied down by his wrists to a bonnet of a car in just his boxers. And it is then explained to him by Denzil that he's got some Semtex shoved up his backside. And he just has to send a pager. And he sends the pager and he says, "You now have 5 minutes to tell me everything you know." And the timer then comes up on the screen so you can see it ticking down. I quite like that, actually, I must admit. I mean, the cutting off the fingers in the car was a bit...
yeah, I mean, he had like maybe four people that he had to like, extract information out of to go to get, further along the story. And each setup was quite believable. And you did think, yeah, if that was me, I'd tell him straight away
before he even took my finger.
Yeah.
I'd say, you can know anything you want, Denz.
And he did kill all of them.
Yeah, he killed them all anyway.
Yeah, he was quite like an anti-hero, or if that's the right phrase.
Well, here's the thing. I'll try and see if I can get a nice comment from you out of this bit then, right? Because Christopher Walken, who I love Christopher Walken, and Tony Scott, funnily enough, uses Christopher Walken in another small cameo type sort of role in True Romance, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. So this role, he's a little bit got more of a role in this, but he obviously likes working with Christopher Walken. So or Chris, as I like to, Christopher. Yeah. Anyway, he's sitting in the hospital. He's sitting in the police chief's office, the good police chief, and the police chief is asking him about Creasy, and Christopher Walken's explanation is to say, you're better off just let him do his thing, because he'll sort out everybody in a week that will take you years to try and do if you do it via the judicial system. But then he wants to know a bit more. So his way of explaining it, and I do really like this bit in the film, is when Christopher Walken simply just says, any man can be an artist. You could be an artist of food, i.e. a chef or whatever. But he says you could be an artist of food. Well, Creasy's art is deaf, and he's about to paint his masterpiece. I think that's a line that I'd like to have to deliver. You know what I mean? It's like, that's a line.
Yeah, on, you'd need someone like Christopher Walken to deliver that line without it sounding cheesy. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
So basically, all the scenes with Christopher Walken in were fantastic, weren't they?
Yeah, really, really good. Hey, what a difference Denzil looks with and without a beard. Huh? I mean, good Lord, man.
When he suddenly appeared without his beard, I had to be like, that's Denzil, isn't it? In it?
Yeah. When he'd had a shave.
Yeah. It's like just suddenly appeared with like clean shaven and things.
What about the bit with the bullet? So before he starts to get too attached to the girl at the very beginning, he's in the room that they've provided for him, and he's got his gun, and he's got this one bullet, and he puts the bullet in the gun, and all of a sudden, without us realizing he's going to do it, he just puts the gun to his head. You kind of hear the gun. You don't really hear it click. You don't see him pull the trigger. But then in the next breath, he's having a private chat with Walken about, have you ever had a bullet misfire? And so it's obvious that he'd pulled the trigger, but this one bullet hadn't misfire. And Walken said that a bullet, no, he said something like, a bullet will always be able to judge a man, or something like that anyway, and then later in the film, a lot later in the film, he then gives that bullet to the husband once he's found out that the husband set all this up, still thinking the daughter's dead, and gives the husband the option to do the same thing. And if he's a really good guy, that bullet will also do the same thing for him. But if he genuinely deserves it, it won't. And you hear the gunshot go off, and sure enough, it goes off for him. That was quite a nice little...
I assume that bit's in the book.
No.
Is it not?
No,
Have you read the book then?
Yeah. I've got the book upstairs.
Okay, because I do think like maybe he'd watched a bit too much Tarantino before he made that film.
Who, Tony Scott?
Yeah, because that was very Tarantino-ish. And that's why I asked if it was in the book.
Well, True Romance, written by Tarantino, directed by Tony Scott. So perhaps Tony Scott was at the time, later or at later points in his life, very heavily influenced then by Tarantino.
I think it definitely was, especially like you say, Christopher Walken's line about this is his masterpiece.
He's about to create his
that whole thing could have been written by Tarantino. So yeah, I've suddenly become really paranoid now that I'm being overly negative. Like,
no, mate, honestly,
these are just the things I picked up on.
This is brilliant, because up until now, I've always thought, if you look at all our videos, I've always thought that people might think we choose a film that we both know we're going to love, and we know that it's just going to get glowing praise. And you know, it's taken a while, but I've found a film that you haven't seen that I love and you don't like, and this is really interesting, hearing both sides to it. And this is the beauty. This is how diverse films can be.
I'm not going to go. I never said I didn't like it. I'm not going to go that far. I said I'm going to have a love-hate relationship.
Oh, you said a love-hate relationship.
Because there are parts of it I do like. You know,
that's like, very true. Yeah.
When I was watching the beginning, I thought, God, how they use, because they're on location, they're using an awful lot of extras because they're in a city. So when they're moving about and things, it's very believable that it's actually happening in that location. I thought, how nice is it to see that without it being green screen?
Yeah.
You know, like hundreds and hundreds of these people. I don't know if filming in Mexico means you don't have to have release forms or health and safety or what. I don't know. But
gosh, who knows? Yeah. I have been over to Tijuana in the 90s. Oh my God. We drove over the Mexican border from San Diego because I was visiting my sister.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. And a minibus sort of camper van, of us from this youth hostel, international youth hostel, went over to Tijuana, and we went to a bar one night. And my God, from going from America to Tijuana, it's literally two totally different countries, completely different aspects of it all. It literally, we went from America into a place where we were then walking into this bar that, no joke, was literally like walking into the Titty Twister from Dusk Till Dawn.
Really?
I kid you not. And they were selling bottles of Corona beer for like 20 pence a beer, and they had semi-naked. At one point, there was like dirty wooden planked floor and benches in this place, which was that particular place was a nightclub bar type thing. And at one point, I looked up, and there were these women on this balcony that were literally just in underwear. And I said to someone that I was with, flipping heck, I said, you wouldn't see that in England at the time, 1996 this was. I said, they're obviously paid by the bar. And they went, no, they're paying people that have come to just drink and let loose. I'm like, I think I'm a bit out of my depth here, Twist.
How long did you drive for until you got to the bar?
Not far. Once you get over the border to Ireland, not
so it wasn't
far
like
from
you
there.
were like 4 hours.
No, not at all. And I tell you something, going from America to Mexico, dead easy. Mexicans were like, yeah, come in, we don't care, whatever. Going from Mexico back to America, though, flipping heck, scrutiny, geez, yeah, big style, you know.
So that's what I would have wanted from this film, to see the real Mexico. It more felt like an American place with some palm trees. They didn't show any American culture, and like the
Mexican culture,
culture.
Yeah.
And the places that they did, it seemed very obvious it was a set. Do you know what I mean? Like their house, spent a lot of time in the couple's house.
Yeah.
And it didn't look like a traditional Mexican house by any stretch.
A richer Mexican house? A millionaire's Mexican house?
It looked like a set, didn't it? You probably can't remember. You probably didn't notice. But
No, the bit where you had all the fireplaces and the coving around the doors and all that sort of stuff. And then they had the one room that was set up like I don't know who it is they prayed to. But that whole setup with the candles.
Really weird, right? That I was going to ask you. You know when he was teaching her how to swim a bit faster, or how to get off the blocks, they've got this swimming pool outside.
Yeah.
And it was quite a nice shot. There was like there's a water spray, wasn't there? Grass, like hydrate or whatever. And behind there was someone washing their car.
Yes.
And they kept showing him looking back. And I thought, who is he? Is he spying on him or something? And then you never saw him ever again.
Yeah, he's just one of the
neighbours.
Well, no, one of the Mexican help.
Right.
You know, because they had she introduced him to the gardener. She introduced them at the start to the cook, the gardener, and someone else. So they've obviously got met. I mean, he's a multimillionaire, although allegedly, although he tries to fake ransom his daughter off to make an extra $5 million. But there you go. Yeah, so there's another scene later when she's finally got under the time she wants, and not only is Denzil there timing her, but the staff are all sitting around the pool egging her on as well. So he's kind of brought them in too.
Oh, yeah, okay.
See
Yeah,
that?
yeah, that makes sense.
Mm. Did you like his suit? Maybe no.
No, I thought it was quite ill-fitting. Denzil.
Bloody Laura. Well, I think we've got a good gist of what you think. Man on Fire. A love-hate relationship. I like that.
Why is it called Man on Fire?
Because he's got all fired up after he finds out that she's been kidnapped and killed,
Right.
and all that stuff that you didn't like, all that action stuff, is him on fire because he's, that's where that really comes from. Okay. A man on a mission, isn't he? Man on fire.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So right, let's go with you first. Give it a sum up.
I wouldn't really recommend this to any of my friends, especially. Does that come as a surprise?
No surprise there.
Well, I think anyone under 30 should stay away from it. Like maybe people are a bit more. Remember what films were like 25 years ago, 20 years ago. Could probably get with it and understand, what filmmaking was like in those times.
Yeah.
But it was just way too long, and no, I can't recommend it other than a very interesting portrayal of his relationship with the daughter. It was very well done. I had to give that like top marks on the way that was actually delivered.
Okay.
But everything else, I'll say don't bother. There's a lot of films out there. I won't bother with it.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for that, sir. And I, on the other hand, of course, no surprises from this side, would say if you like a good revenge thriller that takes its time, builds into the character work, so that when things do start to kick off, it's a bit more believable and you understand why, particularly if you have a particular penchant for Denzel Washington and Christopher Walken and the Scots, let's not forget Ridley and Tony, then I would highly recommend. Yeah. I had forgotten it was 2 hours 20 minutes long though. So yeah, make sure you've got time to watch it because it's a film that takes its time.
Yeah, if you got like a Saturday afternoon with nothing to do, you could kind of fall asleep on the couch quite easily watching it if that's your vibe. Right, before we finish,
yes,
I want to make sure, did I give you enough time in that conversation to say how much you liked it and why you liked it? Do you feel...
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, I think people have a good... I think anyone watching has a great idea what I think. I think they've got a good idea what you think as well. Okay. And on that note as well, we're a quick competition, very quick. But thanks, we ended the year on 290 subscribers. Thank you very, very much for that. Hopefully 2025 will bring us a few more. If you haven't hit like and subscribe and you're enjoying the debate, hit like and subscribe. That's all I can say.
And let us know what you think about the film.
Oh, please do. Yeah, positive and negative.
Yeah.
Constructive, anything would be interesting. Yeah. Now, the giveaway prize, by the way, and by the way, Melanie Gawley, your stuff is ready to be posted. Sorry you haven't had it before Christmas. Haven't forgotten. Well done. So this is a 1990s box set called The Hunger, which is by Ridley and Tony Scott, and they are 22 episodes. This is season 1. Each episode is an hour long, and they are all about vampirism and things like that. Little bit saucy in places, adult, in other words, but very good. Terence Stamp in one of the episodes there on the front. So that's the prize. Now I've got to think of a question. Oh golly. Okay, so somebody message in with the name of the author of the book that this film was based on. There you go.
And promise us you didn't Google it.
Yeah, obviously. No Googling allowed. So yeah, so whoever does that, if we have just one person in, they win it. If we have multiple, we'll put the names in a hat again and pull out the winner. Please have a go. It would be really great to be able to post this off. And then, you're next, aren't you?
Before we go, I do believe when I get this ready for YouTube, I'm going to give Gavin an audio-only version, and you're going to turn it into a podcast. Hopefully,
I'm going to find out how to sort that out, and we'll get this out as a podcast too.
So I'll put the links in the description, but we're probably talking like Spotify, Apple Music, that kind of vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally that. Yeah.
Okay.
And thank you, Dan Lord, because I don't think we've actually said thanks on camera. If you're now listening to this as a podcast, this won't mean anything. I'm now pointing to mine and Dwizz's Man Caves and Margarita's lovely little display box that was designed and sorted out for us and gifted to us by Dan Lord, Forecast Designs.
And if you are, Dan, listening to it on a podcast, you won't notice that he hasn't turned the light on.
I can't plug it in. I've got no electrical plug that will reach from here.
Oh.
But I will.
You did it before.
No, well, I had to run the... Anyway, Dan, thanks so much.
Thanks, Dan, and your wonderfully lit box.
Can't wait to see what Dwiz picks for me next.
Yeah, next time at mine.
Yeah.
We'll see you then, guys.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Over and out.
Peace.
Man caves and margaritas. Joe, Liz, and Gavin talking about their favorite feature.